Hey YouTube, it's Matt the Solopreneur here, and I'm the owner of Haloscapes LLC. I am working out of Cincinnati, Ohio, and am making this channel because I felt a need to share my experience with the community and to hopefully encourage and maybe even you could learn some things from my success. First of all, when I say my success, please don't take that the wrong way. I don't think I'm some kind of big shot. The reason I'm really doing this is because now I'm starting my 5th year as Haloscapes, and I've spent some time looking around and looking at other companies and wondering why I'm not as successful as everyone else. You know, as they say, comparing my insides to everyone else's outsides. And I learned that, everything that appears to be isn't always what it is. I was, quote, a chuck in a truck, or, you could still call me a chuck in a truck. And what I hear over and over in this industry and on YouTube is, you pull up in a rusty old bucket without your name of your company on the side, and, no one's going to take you seriously. And I'm here to tell you I was making 6 figures, not in revenue, I'm talking about in income, above 6 figures for 2 years out of a bucket, out of a rusty bucket, no name on the side. And I'll post a picture of my trailer that's still in my backyard now, but it was a homemade 5x8 trailer, plywood sides that should have been replaced years ago, needed a paint job, just ugly as all get out. When I would go to the place to get my mulch filled up, I would tell them, yeah, put 4 yards in it. And, if the guy didn't know me, if it was a new guy at the yard, he'd go, man, I ain't putting 4 yards in that thing. You're out of your mind. And it was embarrassing. In the 3 years before I bought my 2 nicer trucks, I only had one client ever question my trucks, and it's because the job we were doing was going to involve several tons of rock. And he said, hey man, are you sure this old thing can handle that much rock? And I said, I'm going to make a lot of trips. But hey, and he teased me a little bit. He said, I knew you were coming because I could hear you all the way down the block. And what could I say? I mean, it was true. But at that point, I was doing whatever I had to do to get myself in a position to go ahead and make those moves when they were right for me financially. I see a lot of guys, and I mean, I see it all the time around here. One year it'll be a guy that's cutting grass and, posting on whatever forum, hey, I'm just out of high school, I'm picking up some lawns in my neighborhood, and which I respect. I mean, that was me. And then, a year later, I see the guy with 5 dump trucks that are all decked out and, a crew of 10 guys. And I think to myself, man, how could a 20-year-old guy be this good? I mean, it happens. But what I find out is that a lot of guys are, they've got too much overhead. And you can watch other channels where different YouTubers go into companies and they assess them, and you can see that there's guys doing over $1 million and multiple 7 figures that are in bankruptcy or on the verge of it, or barely making payroll. And this idea that revenue is the end all be all, in my opinion, or for me, for my business model, has been incorrect. So I'm going to, talk about the other side of that, where yeah, revenue is super important. I mean, if we don't bring in money, we can't make any money. It's pretty simple. But, my opinion in the landscape business in particular, you tend to see the same kind of story over and over. Usually it's a guy that started in high school, picked up some lawns. He got a route where he was doing about 30 lawns a week, maybe. Um, you know, After high school, maybe goes to college, maybe doesn't. Turns it into a business, and the next thing you know, the guy's got 500 lawns and is really making some serious money. And I've seen that repeat itself over and over around here. Now, a quick caveat, I do not cut grass. That's one thing that I cut out after year one, and it was probably the best business decision for me that I've ever made. I actually started sending all my lawn clients and grass cutting referrals to a buddy of mine who only cuts grass, and in some ways helped him build his own business. I'm not taking credit for anything, but you know, he helped me out too because I knew my clients were going to be happy with his service because of who he was. And, he's benefiting too by getting these solid referrals and they were all kind of in the same area. So, that worked out for both of us really. And, but for me to not have to cut grass opened me up to really focus on what I feel like I'm good at and what I really know, and that's the landscaping side of it. Um, yeah. So, how did I do this? Well, in my opinion, if you want to go out on your own, there's the guy that starts cutting grass in high school and builds it into that. And if you're cutting grass, I think that model is great. And at some point, guys evolve into other services. And the progression in landscape is you go from grass cutting and some maintenance to doing landscape installations, decorative hardscape. Maybe you add fertilization and weed control and some other services. And eventually the goal is